What's going on, guys? We are back working on the S10 V8 project again. This is my soon-to-be 383. I have the engine block sitting here, all finished up by the machine shop, and I say that jokingly because if you've seen the last few episodes, between me and my wife, we've done all of the work to this engine ourselves, including boring the cylinders, decking the block, and all of the general cleanup. So if you're like the many trolls I have in the comments telling me this is gonna blow up in my face, or if you just want to see how this is gonna turn out, make sure you stick around to the end, because no matter what, by the end of this, I'm gonna get this baby running. So first things first, after all of our machine work and some wire wheeling and degreasing, this is the crappy finish that we're left with on the block. And this is how it rusted overnight. No, I'm just kidding. I used Rust-Oleum's Rusty Metal Primer. I've heard good things about it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I also wanted to lay some claim to this, and I may have ran out of room. So I'm trying to do everything a little bit better this time, and that includes the paint job. So I'm brushing paint on this time, and this way I can experiment a little bit with adding some hardener and seeing if that helps at all. Rust-Oleum spray paint kinda sucks, but there's stuff that's in the can is a little better, and then if I can get some hardener in it, it should be pretty decent. So I ended up using some of those really cheap foam brushes to apply this with, and all of that put together got me a finish that I think actually looks pretty damn good. Next up is the camshaft. Now this is Summit's 8802 cam. Now it's pretty similar to the Corvette LT4 cam, but with some better lift numbers. And now I'm getting into some more boring stuff here, but very important. I'm measuring bearing clearances. Here I'm measuring the bore of where the crankshaft's going to sit. I'll measure the crankshaft journals. I'll measure the journals for the piston rods, and then I'll measure the bores for the piston rods where the bearings are going to go, and just make sure everything meshes up and we don't have a big journal on a small, like, let's say rod end, and everything equals out. This is not something you want to come back for and realize something's wrong. Okay guys, so this leaves me at this point here. I had to stop and catch up with you because I've gotten a bunch of work done, and I'm at like a huge, basically milestone point right now as far as building this. I have my pistons and my rods, and everything is connected, and it's connected for the last time. So I've had all this together like a bunch of times now. For just measuring and clearancing and all of that stuff, and then I had to take it back out and just all of the blueprinting joys. So one of the last videos I made, actually the last video I did, is I did the deck resurfacing on this. It was one of the no machine shop machine work that I did here in the garage. So I got a lot of questions and guys just wondering how exactly that turned out, because I did have a hard time kind of measuring it. So I did get those numbers now, since I was able to put some pistons in here. And before I ringed these up and everything, I took one piston and I put it on each corner. I used the same one so I'd have like a controlled number, so I can get at least a 4 squared number. I know the surface looks beautiful, but I was curious of what we took off. Alrighty, I have it all wrote down. It is pretty simple looking. I used good old piston number 3, and I popped that in all 4 corners. And these are the numbers I came up with. So basically we're looking at the engine like this. We're within 1/1000th of a difference here and 2/1000ths of a difference here. And over here, I'm pretty sure I started out at a 21, and over here was either a 15 or a 16. I took down about 2/1000ths, so not as much as I was hoping, but I did check this with a straight edge, and I went by the old school rule of 4 thousandths this way because there's 4 pistons, and then 2 thousandths this way, and everything passes with flying colors. I did that on both sides, and I checked it over and over again, and I made sure I just had a really smooth surface. I went over all of this with a Scotch-Brite just to make sure there wasn't any little fingers sticking up. So I didn't take it down as much as I wanted, but I can run a thin MLS gasket, and I'm pretty confident about it sticking. I shouldn't say sticking, but not having some just weird ripply rough surface that it's not going to seal to. It's definitely within the like grit level or RA level that it needs to be in. And then also my heads are basically brand new, and they have like a nice mirrored finish. I think I'm all set. I do have a little bit of a goofy situation where I did order 2 different size head gaskets because this side was the taller side, whatever it is. I have a taller and a shorter, so that way it evens out and I get the exact same like compression and quench, most importantly the quench distance on my piston to head. So all of that should be evened out. It took a whole bunch of number crunching to get there, but it looks pretty good, and I think it's going to seal pretty good, which is what really matters. Alright, so I just got all of my timing set stuff together, and I got some goodies here. It's a little bit better than what I had before. The cam included with that. So I have a better cam, and then we do have a nice, sexy, upgraded timing set, which is from these guys. I did just have like a super cheap, like literally the cheapest timing set you could get on there. It was just like a Summit Racing replacement one. I mainly just wanted the new chain. I was just going to throw new chain on there. I did end up using the upper gear because it was easy, but I left the old gear on the stock crank and it wasn't super tight. That might have been because I didn't use that other gear, but this baby, she is stout. I mean, that sucker ain't going anywhere. And this is a better chain. It's just overall better. This one actually, since I'm talking about it, has different timing points that you can put it on and adjust it. So if I want to fine tune this down the road, I can move that around and advance or retard the like duration of the cam. I think it's gonna be okay, just straight up. I spent a lot of time picking this out. Okay guys, I have jumped forward a ton here. So I've got a bunch of work done since last time you've seen. We left off talking about the camshaft. I've been to the point in this build where I can just slap stuff together, and it's way less tedious than like the machine work stuff I was doing before. So let me flip around here, and we have an engine that actually kind of looks like an engine again. So huge progress. I got the heads, oil pan, the whole 9 is like put together, like 95%. So I don't have my injectors yet because I'm stepping those up, and I also am getting my computer retuned because we've kind of changed a lot of things. So I'm getting the injectors and my computer tuned through the same person. That stuff's in the mail, coming back to me at any moment, pretty much should be showing up. I stepped up to, I think it was 36-pound injectors. Those are good for like 500 horsepower, so I'll be fine with those. I guess he sells a ton of those. It's pretty much like the go-to if once you outrun like the stock ones, especially with the 383. I was gonna outrun the stock ones, I'm sure. So yeah, and we've changed the cam, and yeah, so I needed all of that. So once I get those injectors, I can slap this intake on. The valve covers, that's like a 2-minute thing. There is something we kind of need to talk about. I do have my distributor cover. I painted it to match because, you know, it's got to be pretty, right? Everything's looking good. I also got a new thermostat to go in here, and that's a little bit of a story. So now that this is together and I got some of my final measurements, my compression is a little on the high side for a small block. We're sitting at like a 10.8, and my dynamic is like 9.21. So we're on the high side, and that's with my camshaft, because it's not a huge camshaft. It's definitely a step up from where we are, but like if you have a really big camshaft, it helps bleed compression off. Mine's not big enough to quite take away that much compression. It does help a little bit, but not enough. I have aluminum heads, that helps, not quite that much. On the LS motors, they seem to get away with it a little bit more, and I wasn't that worried about it when I was putting it together, but the tuner was a little worried about it, and I've kind of done some research, and I found out that is a little on the high side for these. So I'm running on 93 octane. I do have that in my area, but it's still, again, not quite enough. So basically what's going to happen, he wants me to run a cold thermostat, and that way he can put as much timing as he feels comfortable in it. He's been tuning these for a while, so I'm sure I'm going to still get a rock solid tune, but I'm probably leaving a little bit of horsepower on the table. Unfortunately, if I changed out to a really gnarly cam, like we moved this motor into a Camaro or something like that, it would help. But there's really nothing I could do about it. That's just kind of like the parts that 383 kit came with, and the combustion chambers on these heads, because obviously I didn't want to just buy new heads, and that would have just completely destroyed the budget. So I'm just dealing with it. I know even with a reduction in timing, this thing is going to be light years faster than that V6. So I'm still excited about it, but I am a little bummed that I know it's not a ideal setup. I should be, I don't know, maybe 9.8, so we could have all the timing in it for the like application that it is, being in the truck and stuff. So I think it'll be good though, and we'll probably go to a dyno later on, because we got to find out what this thing's actually making, and maybe they can fine-tune it even more from there, and I'll be doing all right. So I just wanted to get that out there. I know that's kind of mouthful, but I did raise that compression a little bit, trying to get that good quench in there. I got like a, if for anyone that knows, a .042 quench, and that's even on both sides. All 8 pistons are within 1 or 2 numbers of that. So the compression could have been lower, but I raised it to get that. The quench is a little more important than compression, so I do have that going for me. So we'll see how it goes. And then also, I got my rebuilt 4L60 cleaned up a little bit on the outside and the inside. I went ahead and gave it like a break-in filter change and cleaned the pan out. Since it's kind of easy to do that, I figured I might as well. And then I painted it and just got it looking really nice. I'm pretty happy with it, actually. So I'm sure she's sweating just a little bit sitting next to this thing, but it is almost ready to pretty much be married up on there. I even have my converter showed up, so I got me some good bolts to put it on, and most importantly, I got some stickers. I just opened this a second ago. This is a Hughes, you can't see it, 2500 stall, and most importantly, it has some new stickers down there. It also comes with its own bolts, which it did not say it was going to, and I bought bolts. I'm a little annoyed by that, but those are ARP bolts. They were like 13 bucks, so whatever. Just, it's the little things that annoy me when I'm like doing this stuff. I'm like, but so that's a 2500 stall. Those are like big block numbers, what these are usually rated as. So we're looking at a 21-ish stall maybe behind this. We'll see it, you know, it varies by a lot of different factors, but somewhere in the 21 range. So that should be pretty good to go with the cam we got, and being the 4-wheel drive truck, I don't want a super high one, just to make it more practical for what it is. So that should go, and it's rated for like 500 horsepower, so we're definitely good on that bad boy. That trans will probably blow before that converter does, so sitting pretty good actually. Okay guys, I have to stop myself for a minute because I have been going at this thing like a madman. So, truck is in the garage. We have the motor and the trans in the truck. Didn't really document a whole lot in between. I've just been going at it and just getting this thing done. So the whole drivetrain's in there, everything underneath is done. The body is dropped down. You remember I had to have it like jacked up to have the extra room to like shoehorn it in there. But all the little odds and ends are done. Wiring, most of the plumbing. So I still have a little hold up getting the injectors. That's why none of this is done. Getting the injectors and the PCM. There's just an issue with getting that stuff to me, so I'm working around it. I'm trying to not let it slow me down. So when that stuff shows up, I can just put that in, take this last harness, plug everything in. PCM is pretty simple, just pop it in there, plug it in. But like little things like this, I even have this here. I just can't put it on yet because it'll be in the way of putting the intake on, but I did at least put this side of it on. This thing really is just so much better in so many ways. This is like a full 2.0. So obviously the engine is bigger and better, and I've put so much extra attention into it. This started out as just like a junkyard 350 build with a couple things thrown at it. Now it is a like fully, like basically race built 383. Even the wiring and just doing little extra things like making sure I have like a good amount of heat protection on areas maybe I didn't have it before, making sure things are routed. Just it's like a prototype versus the real thing. You know, you learn, and then when you do it again, you know, oh well, that was a problem, so I changed that or moved this over here, and maybe zip tied this wire up before I put another part on because I can't get to it after that. That's a lot of what this is. It's a puzzle because this baby is just so tightly packed in here. There's kind of like a series of things you have to do in a certain order, or else you have to go back and do them. Give y'all just a quick reminder what we're working with down here. Trans, that big old oil pan, nice painted up trans, and we got our just straight cut out pipes. They're literally just there for the O2 sensors. I'll end up having this redone to where the exhaust shop will, there's a drive shaft for the front diff here. It's basically go from there, come over to there, go through, and then just reconnect to the exhaust that I already have done, which goes into a little Super 10 and then Y's out the back. I believe that's all like 2.5 inch, and then those are 2 1/4, something like that. Not the best exhaust setup for like maximum horsepower, but it'll work. All right, y'all, big moment right here. So injectors have shown up. It's been about a week or so for me. I'm trying to remember last time I shot the last video, about a week-ish. But I got my new injectors. They literally just showed up off the UPS truck, and my computer it's down there. So yeah, that's the last two very, very important pieces to the puzzle. So I gotta get this stuff in. It's a little late in the day, and there's a chance of thunderstorms that's rolling in like right now. So I have this all like 99% done. I just gotta get that in, get the intake on. I mean, I got everything. I even got like my lights kind of ghetto zip tied just so I can like take a quick drive around the block. Assuming everything goes good, which hopefully it does, I'll just have to do a startup, make sure everything's cool, there's no fluids spewing out of here, and change the oil, get any nasty junk out of there, and then I'm pretty much good. I can go drive around and have fun with it and play around. So I want to get to that point today. If there's not like you know, hurricane season going on outside that door, because I'm not really worried about it getting wet under here, but I don't want to go out in, you know, that kind of weather. So I gotta get that done real quick, get everything put together, and then hopefully we're gonna get right into a first startup of this. Okay, and just like that, I got a 100% complete motor up in here. So got the injectors, intake, and all the last few little things, fuel lines, last little nuts, bolts, hoses, all hooked up. Finished topping off the radiator. The only thing I can't do is the transmission, because you can only put like so much fluid in there, and then you have to run it for a few seconds, and then you can basically put the other like 6 quarts. It's like 12 quarts. It's a lot of fluid, but everything else is in place. I got Irene out here. She helped me get this together. We're gonna get this started up and see how she goes. Fire her up. Ooh. Was that you? Do it again. Okay, hold on. We got sparks coming out of the starter. I wonder if I just didn't tighten something. Okay, so I just got done fiddling around with the starter. Where it bolted to the block, it was tight, but I have some bolts that aren't technically the right bolts, and they were maxed out like the threads, but they weren't actually holding the starter tight, so I wasn't getting like a good ground. I don't know how I got away with that before. I don't know. It's all tight now, so I think we're good to go. You ready for take 2? For S10 2.0, start 2.0. That's just all that oil. I put a lot of, I dripped some oil in the cylinders because I knew it was going to sit for a minute before we started it. So that's probably what that is, I'm sure. But I got to fill the transmission up the rest of the way now. I really wanted to just keep going and see what happened, but I'm going to turn the fan on. I'm going to top off this transmission, and then we're going to really see what it can do. Okay, we're on start 3 now. It's crazy how much fluids, like, it sucked everything down. I had to add oil, even power steering, water for the radiator, and then the main reason I stopped it short was to make sure I had transmission fluid. So pretty much re-topped up on everything, and now we can actually let it run and see what happens. Go ahead and restart.
It had 60 pounds of oil pressure in case oil.
60 pounds? 60 pounds of oil pressure, let's go! Oh, start that thing. I was hoping it'd just idle on its own. Alright.
Smells like a firecracker.
Go ahead. I'll have to nurse it a little bit. somebody spilled some transmission fluid on the headers the other day, and it's all absorbed in the wrap right there. That's pretty sure that's all that is. But she's running good. The idle's high. I don't know why. It's at like 1,000, what, 1,100? So yeah, like 1,000. Well, guys, I'm a little frustrated, not gonna lie. So right now, where I sit, I have the new idle air control valve. It's unplugged, and I have the throttle manually set. But there's still this just weird fluctuation where it still will try to idle at, like, I got it down a little bit. It's like maybe 850, 900. But if you give it a good whack of the throttle, then it drops all the way down to where the engine almost stalls out. Sometimes it does. And there's just this weird, huge variance. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It just started raining out, so I'm gonna get this oil out of here, because this is just the like startup oil, so this stuff has to go. Get my actual brake-in oil in there. I'm gonna try just going back and forth in the driveway and see how it acts. I did check for vacuum leaks. I think I had a big clamp right here, and I clamped off the brake hose, the main vacuum line that comes from the truck. I clamped off this line that goes to the PVC. I clamped off this other part of the PVC. This is nice and tight. That's tight. That's tight. This clamp isn't tight, but that's before the mass airflow sensor. It is facing the right way. I just now seen that. So everything's in check. I don't know. Don't know. That's a little frustrating. So I'm just gonna see if it's good enough I can drive it for now, and we're gonna go from there. So in some of my research and troubleshooting this, I seen some people saying they had to go to a case ground style O2 sensor for all of this to work properly. I got that, and I repinned the plugs to make it work, and I'm not sure if it made a big difference, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Successful voyage, so nothing's blown up. We're still chugging away. We do have that annoying high idle, and then it kind of falls on its face a little bit here and there. It seems to maybe be getting a little better as I drive it, but I think we're at base tune level, so I can drive it around. Everything's cool. I have no power though. This thing, it is probably slower than the V6 right now, but that's on a bench tune, so I'm sure it has plenty more to be unlocked in it. I just have to get to a dyno and have them do it. I'd like to do it myself, but I don't have HP tuners, and I wanted to get some people that really know what they're doing, because I really want this to be like as perfect as possible. The drivability, the drivability and everything, not just full throttle stuff. So I got to start looking around for that. We're get this baby like really dialed in, and I know this has to just like absolutely rip. There's no way it cannot. I did test the converter, and it actually didn't push through the brakes until about 2500. So when I actually hit this, when I have some power, I mean, it should she should scoot, or those tires are just gonna fry. Either one, it should be pretty fun. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. And if you guys have enjoyed this or got anything from it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the like. The like helps a ton more than anything. Besides that though, thanks for hanging out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.